Are you curious about the dark web? You've probably heard rumors about it, but did you know that accessing it could be dangerous? The dark web is a hidden part of the internet that's not indexed by search engines, and is a haven for criminal activities. From illegal drugs and weapons to human trafficking and hacking services, the dark web is a place where the worst of humanity can thrive. If you're thinking about exploring the dark web, you might want to think twice. Let's break down the dark web iceberg. Red rooms are one of the most infamous and disturbing aspects of the dark web. These are live-streamed events where people pay to watch others being tortured, murdered, or subjected to horrific acts of violence. The name Red Room comes from the fact that the room is usually painted red to hide the bloodstains. Red rooms are a prime example of how the anonymity and encryption of the dark web can be exploited for evil purposes. These rooms are typically invitation only, and the participants are often required to pay with cryptocurrency to gain access. One infamous Red Room story is that of Daisy's destruction. This was a series of videos produced by a man named Peter Scully, who recorded himself torturing and sexually abusing children. The videos were circulated on the dark web and became a symbol of the depravity that can exist in the hidden corners of the internet. The Mariana's web is a rumored level of the dark web that is said to be even deeper than the commonly known layers. It is believed to contain the most sensitive and secretive information on the internet, including government secrets, advanced hacking techniques, and even evidence of extraterrestrial life. The existence of Mariana's web is still up for debate, as there is no concrete evidence to support its existence. However, the name is believed to be derived from the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of the ocean, which suggests that the web is similarly inaccessible. The mystery surrounding Mariana's web has made it a popular topic for conspiracy theorists and internet sleuths, who are constantly looking for clues and evidence of its existence. The Cannibal Cafe is a disturbing website that was active on the dark web in the early 2000s. The site claimed to be a forum for people with a cannibal fetish, where they could discuss their fantasies and even make arrangements to meet in person. The site gained notoriety after it was linked to several real-life cannibalism cases, including the infamous Armin Maiwi's case in Germany. Maiwi's had used the site to find a willing victim whom he killed and then consumed. The Cannibal Cafe was eventually shut down by authorities, but its legacy lives on as a disturbing example of how the anonymity of the dark web can be used to facilitate real-world crimes. The shadow web is another rumored layer of the dark web that is said to be even deeper than Mariana's web. It is believed to be a haven for hackers, cybercriminals, and other shady characters who operate outside the bounds of the law. The shadow web is said to be accessible only by invitation, and the people who inhabit it are said to be some of the most skilled and dangerous hackers on the planet. They are rumored to sell everything from illegal drugs to stolen identities and even weapons. While the existence of the shadow web is still up for debate, there have been several instances of real-world crimes that are believed to have been facilitated by its existence. The dark web scavenger hunt is a twisted game that is played on the dark web, where players are challenged to complete a series of disturbing tasks in order to win a prize. These tasks can range from something as simple as downloading a file or image, to something as extreme as hacking into a government website. The game is typically played by anonymous groups who post clues on various dark web forums or chat rooms. The clues are often cryptic and require players to use their hacking skills and knowledge of the dark web to solve them. The tasks are designed to be progressively more difficult and disturbing, with each one requiring more risk and potentially illegal activities. Some of the tasks involve stealing sensitive information, hacking into computer systems, or even harming people physically. The dark web doll market is a disturbing online marketplace where users can purchase lifelike dolls that are designed to look like children. These dolls are often marketed as reborn dolls or silicone dolls, and are typically priced in the thousands of dollars. The dolls are extremely realistic, with hand-painted details, hair, and even eyelashes. Some of them even come with an artificial breathing mechanism and heat pads to mimic the feel of a real child. While owning a lifelike doll may seem innocent enough, there is a dark and disturbing side to this market. Some buyers have been known to use the dolls for sexual purposes, and there have been cases where buyers have been found to have real pornography in their possession. The dark web is home to a disturbing number of websites that offer to sell human organs or conduct legal medical experiments. These sites operate outside of the law and often target vulnerable individuals who are desperate for medical treatment. One infamous case of human experimentation on the dark web was the ISIS Red Room, where users could pay to watch live stream videos of individuals being tortured and killed. While the existence of these rooms has been largely debunked, there is no doubt that the dark web is home to a number of disturbing and illegal activities. There have also been cases cases of individuals using the dark web to sell organs or conduct medical experiments on unsuspecting victims. These activities are illegal and highly dangerous, and anyone caught participating in them could face serial criminal charges. Now that we know some of the scary places on the dark web, what can actually happen to you if you go on the dark web? I'm talking about you right now watching this video. What could happen to you if you go on the dark web? Identity theft is a growing problem on the dark web. Cybercriminals can steal personal information such as social security numbers, bank account details, and credit card numbers, and sell them to the highest bidder. Victims of identity theft can suffer severe financial losses and may have difficulty restoring their credit and reputations. In some cases, criminals may even use the stolen information to commit other crimes, such as opening fraudulent bank accounts or filing false tax returns. It's essential to be vigilant and take steps to protect personal information from being stolen, such as using strong passwords, enabling two-factor authentication, and monitoring credit reports regularly. Hacking and malware attacks are also prevalent on the dark web. Cybercriminals can use malicious software to infect visitors' devices and steal personal information or commit other malicious activities. Examples of malware include ransomware, which encrypts files and demands payment to unlock them, and keyloggers, which record keystrokes to capture sensitive information such as login credentials. Visitors to the dark web should take precautions to protect their devices, such as using antivirus software and keeping all software up to date. Social engineering scams are a form of psychological manipulation used by dark web criminals to trick people into revealing sensitive information or performing certain actions. These scams can take many forms, such as phishing emails, fake login pages, or fake tech support calls. Victims of social engineering scams can suffer significant financial losses or have their identities stolen. It's essential to be aware of the signs of social engineering scams and to verify the authenticity of any requests or personal information. Blackmail and extortion are common tactics used by dark web criminals to extort money from their victims. Criminals may threaten to release sensitive information or other damaging material unless a ransom is paid. Victims of blackmail or extortion can suffer significant emotional distress and financial loss. It's essential to be cautious when sharing personal information and to avoid engaging with extortionists. The dark web can be a scary place, and unfortunately, some criminals use it as a way to harass and stalk individuals. These criminals may obtain personal information about their victims through hacking or other illegal means, and then use that information to make their victims feel uncomfortable and unsafe online. This can take the form of constant messages, threats, or even attempts at blackmail. One of the scariest things about this type of harassment is that it can be hard to escape. Victims may feel like they are being constantly watched and monitored, and may even feel like they have nowhere to turn for help. This can lead to feelings of anxiety, depression, and even paranoia. The dark web is notorious for its illegal and disturbing content. This includes things like pornography, snuff films, and terrorist propaganda. This content can be extremely harmful, not only to the people who view it, but also to the victims who are depicted in it. One of the most insidious things about this content is that it can be easy to find, but hard to remove. This means that even if you're not actively looking for it, you may stumble upon it accidentally. And once you've seen it, it can be hard to get those images out of your head. It's important to remember that this content is not only illegal, but also extremely harmful. If you come across it, don't hesitate to report it to the authorities. While it's rare, there is a risk of physical danger for individuals who become involved in dark web activities. This can come from criminals who use the dark web as a way to carry out illegal activities, such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, or even murder. Additionally, law enforcement agencies may monitor the dark web and attempt to catch individuals involved in illegal activities. If you're caught, you could face serious legal consequences. It's important to remember that the dark web is not a safe place, and you should always be cautious when accessing it. If you do choose to explore the dark web, make sure to take proper precautions to protect yourself and your personal information. Now that we know about all the places you can go on the dark web and what could happen to you if you do go there, let's talk about some stories of people who did go there and what actually happened to them. I'm going to use fake names for these stories to protect these people's privacy, but here we go. Jenny had always been fascinated by the dark web. She had heard rumors of its dark secrets and hidden horrors, but her curiosity outweighed her fears. She downloaded Tor, the browser that allowed access to the dark web, and began exploring its mysterious depths. One night, as she was browsing through the endless pages of illegal marketplaces and disturbing forums, Jenny stumbled upon a website she had never seen before. It was a forum where users shared their encounters with ghosts and other supernatural entities. Jenny was intrigued. She had always been interested in the paranormal and had even had a few unexplained experiences herself. She clicked on one of the threads and began reading the stories. As she read through the various accounts, Jenny became more and more unsettled. Many of the stories seemed genuine, with detailed descriptions of encounters that were difficult to explain. Suddenly, Jenny's screen went black. She tried to close the browser, but nothing happened. A message in bold red letters appeared on the screen: "We're watching you." Jenny's heart was pounding as she stared at the red letters on her computer screen. The message seemed to be taunting her, daring her to continue exploring the dark web. She tried to shut down her computer, but it wouldn't respond. The screen stayed blank, and she began to hear whispers in her speaker that grew louder and louder and more frantic. Jenny felt like she was trapped in a nightmare. Suddenly, the room grew cold, and Jenny felt a chill run down her spine. She turned around to see a ghostly figure standing behind her, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Jenny's first instinct was to run, but the figure moved too quickly. It grabbed her by the shoulder, pulling her back to the chair. She felt paralyzed, unable to move or scream. The figure leaned in close, and Jenny could feel its cold breath on her neck. It whispered in a language she couldn't understand, and Jenny felt a sense of dread wash over her. Just when she thought things couldn't get worse, the whispers in her speakers turned to a deafening roar. She could feel the sound vibrating through her body, and she thought her eardrums might burst. As the noise subsided, Jenny realized that the ghostly figure had disappeared. She was alone now, but she knew that something had changed. She could feel a presence in the room with her, and it was not a friendly one. Jenny tried to log out of the dark web, but her computer seemed to be stuck. The forum she had been browsing was still open, and she could see new messages appearing on the screen. They were all from the same user, and the messages were getting more and more threatening. "We know where you live," one of them read. "You can't hide from us," said another. Jenny knew she had to get out of there, but she didn't know how. She felt like she was being watched, like every move she made was being monitored. As she sat there, frozen with fear, the ghostly figure appeared again. This time, it was closer, and Jenny could see its twisted features more clearly. It was not a human face, but something that belonged in another realm entirely. Jenny screamed, but no one came to her rescue. She was alone, trapped in the nightmare world of the dark web. She knew she had made a terrible mistake, and now she was paying the price. Oh my god, that was intense. Let's move on to the next story, about John. By the way, the name here was changed as well. It was a quiet night, and John was sitting at his computer, browsing the dark web. He had heard about the hidden corners of the internet and was curious about what he might find. As he clicked through different websites, he stumbled upon a forum that caught his attention. It was a community of hackers and cybercriminals who shared tips and tricks for accessing sensitive information and exploiting security vulnerabilities. John was fascinated by what he was reading and started interacting with other users on the forum. He quickly made a name for himself by sharing his own hacking techniques and knowledge. But as he delved deeper into the forum, he noticed that some users were sharing disturbing content. There were discussions about human trafficking, stolen identities, and even plans for violent attacks. John tried to distance himself from these conversations, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was in too deep. He started receiving messages from anonymous users warning him to stay away from certain threads in the forum. One night, while browsing the dark web, John received a message from a user who claimed to be a high-ranking member of a powerful cybercrime organization. The user offered John a job as a hacker for the group, promising him a large sum of money in return for his services. John was torn. On one hand, the job could provide him with financial security and a chance to put his skills to use. On the other hand, he knew that getting involved with the criminal organization could lead to serious consequences. He decided to decline the offer and try to sever ties with the dark web altogether. But it was too late. The anonymous messages kept coming, and John could feel the eyes of the dark web on him at all times. One night, he heard a knock on his door. When he opened it, he found a package sitting on his doorstep. It was a laptop with a note attached that read, "We need your skills. You have no choice." John knew that he made a grave mistake by venturing onto the dark web, and now he was trapped in a world of cybercrime and danger. John's heart raced as he tried to figure out what to do next. He knew that he couldn't refuse the offer, but he also couldn't bring himself to work for a criminal organization. He decided to turn to the authorities for help. He gathered all the evidence he could find and contacted the FBI. They set up a sting operation and caught several members of the cybercrime organization. including the high-ranking member who had offered John the job. But even after the operation, John still felt like he was being watched. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following him, even when he was alone in his apartment. He started seeing strange messages on his computer screen, warning him to keep his mouth shut or face the consequences. One day, as he was walking home from work, he noticed a car trailing him. He quickened his pace, but the car kept following him. He turned around to confront the driver, but before he could say anything, he felt a sharp pain in the back of his head. When he woke up, he was in a dark room, tied to a chair. He could hear the sound of a computer keyboard clicking in the distance. He tried to free himself, but the ropes were too tight. Finally, the door opened, and a figure stepped into the room. It was the high-ranking member of the cybercrime organization who had offered him the job. He smiled and said, "You should have taken the job, John. Now you're ours." John knew he was in grave danger, and he wondered if he would ever make it out alive. The dark web is a scary place. We all get a rush about learning about it. It's really interesting, but I advise you to never try to explore it. It can be extremely dangerous, and if you ever do decide, make sure you know what you're doing. Research different VPNs and other kind of software you can use to protect yourself. Be careful, everybody, and sweet dreams.